Welcome everybody in to another episode of the Night Train podcast with Drew and Kev. It's good to have y'all back in. Tonight we have two very special guests for us. We have one, Mr. Troy Tervalon, who's been a part of law enforcement for nearly 30 years. He's lived in Bogalusa most of his life. He loves his community and his department, and he's looking forward to sharing his knowledge and point of view when it comes to law enforcement in our area and just in general. Also tonight, we have another special guest, Mr. Brandon Allen, all the way from St. Martinville, Louisiana. He's been in law enforcement for 8 years. Experience. Wait. I'm sorry about that. 8 years of law enforcement experience and 15 years in the criminal justice system. He is also an alumni of University of Lafayette and a member of the
Caucasus.
greatest organization, also known as Phi Beta Sigma. You know, Kev had a smile
Most
making me
definitely.
read that, man.
Most
So,
definitely.
you know what I'm saying? But yeah, to get that in there. But thank y'all fellas for coming on tonight and being coming and blessing us with our presence and giving us some information on both the criminal justice system, law enforcement system. How y'all feeling tonight?
Good.
I'm good, man. Good.
Good deal, man. Kev, how you feeling tonight, brother?
As always, I'm tired, man. That's always my answer.
Yeah. Hey, but you here. That's all that matters, man. You know, so yeah, but we not gonna wasting too much time, man. We got a lot of great topics to get into and talk about it. But first, before we get started, Mr. Troy, I want to give you a chance to get the opportunity to just explain your background and how you got into law enforcement.
Yeah. My name is Troy Tervalon. I'm the assistant chief at the Bogalusa Police Department. I started my career in at RCC, which is now Rayburn Correctional Center. I worked there for a few years and got hired on at the Bogalusa Police Department. While I was working at Rayburn, I also was a reserve officer with the Bogalusa Police Department. So when I finally got hired on full time, I've worked my way up all the way through the ranks to my current position, which is assistant chief. I've worked in pretty much every facet of law enforcement that a small town rural police department has to offer. And I'm here tonight just to answer questions, kind of enlighten you guys on my experiences and what I know about law enforcement.
Good deal, man. Good deal. Glad to have you, man. All right, Mr. Brandon, let the people know who you are, man, and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Brandon Allen. I've been in law enforcement, like you said, for the past 8 years. Started off working corrections in the St. Martin Parish Sheriff's Office. From there, I went to work with juveniles at the Lafayette Juvenile Detention Center. I did that for about 5 years. And now I'm at my current place of employment, which is through the state of Louisiana.
Good deal, man. Look, Kel, before I'm gonna start off with, I'm curious to know, and man, Mr. Troy was talking about this before the recording started, but I was curious to know at your teenage years, was that on y'all's radar? You know, when it comes to law enforcement, where were you guys at that age? Between the ages of high school, let's say between ninth grade and 12th grade, was this on y'all radar? Law enforcement, criminal justice, anything of that field?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like we were saying earlier, if you ask any of my teachers back when I was in junior high or high school, I probably wasn't the best student. I wasn't necessarily a troubled youth, but I wasn't probably the best student.
Mhm.
Um, but as I got older and got in a relationship, got into church, and kind of got right with the Lord, I started focusing on what did I want to do with the rest of my life? How did I want to spend the rest of my life? And I started thinking about law enforcement. And I had some friends as I got older that were in it, and I talked to them, and that's kind of what led me into the career. I always wanted to do something in my mind that could help people, that could help the community, and I felt like I could do that with law enforcement.
Mhm. Mr. Brandon, your views on that?
That was a good response, by the way, Charlie, too. Um, I'm gonna say when I went to UL, that's when my vision started for it. My first major was actually pre-dentistry of biology. Did like a year of that, and I was like, nah, this ain't for me, bro.
Mhm.
So ended up switching my major to criminal justice and started looking at the ins and outs of it, and that's when I became attached to it. And ever since then, that's all I've been about. So
Yeah, good deal. When y'all made it, as far as I'm curious to know what was the relationship like with your friends when y'all made that choice to go into law enforcement? Because that's like, if we're being honest, law enforcement never is like a popular opinion amongst you and well, from in my experience at least, amongst you and friends and things of that nature, especially at a younger age. You kind of get a little bit of smoke behind choosing to be on that side of the law. Just from things that I've seen. So, what was y'all experience like with y'all friend group, if y'all had one? When y'all said, "Hey, look, I'm making this choice to go into law enforcement."
So
Either
yeah,
one,
I'll
just
start.
had it.
Yeah. So whenever I made the decision to finally get into law enforcement, and even whenever I started in corrections, it was kind of a dividing path for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my friends. I had some friends that was kind of doing things wrong. They were kind of fooling with drugs, kind of messing up. And whenever they saw me take that path, it was a turning point. So I had some friends that just wouldn't talk to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My true friends stuck with me. I mean, I have friends now that I still talk to from elementary school. They're just good, solid friends. But a lot of them that I thought would be my friends forever, we ended up just parting paths. Some of them are no longer with us. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them are in jail. Some of them have been in and out of jail. I don't treat them any different. They just made different life choices than I did.
Right.
For me, you know, first when I first got in law enforcement, it was a lot of friends that I lost that I still don't talk to today. I got looked at with the side eye and so couldn't be trusted. And I come from a background where I had a lot of people that was hood like. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, me being a cop around them kind of made them, like we don't really want your company around here and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But my family has been very supportive of me, and I've learned to um, not learn too, but I've adapted more or obtained more friends through
Mm-hmm.
the process of being in law enforcement and stuff like that. So people that actually look up to us, people that actually support us, people that actually have our backs and stuff like that. So I think initially, it was just something people just didn't want to be around because of the stereotype
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And but now, like I said, I had none but support around me, friends and family included.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was curious about because I know I hear that a lot. With amongst friend groups. If people feel like they know you, and you make a decision or you make a choice to go against the grain, especially when it comes to something as divisive as going into law enforcement. I know that has to be hard to deal with having those conversations, or people still looking at you the same whenever you outside of that uniform. So my question is like, how did y'all decide? How did y'all navigate that process? And I'm asking because I know eventually we're leading up to this question about recruitment and finding ways to get younger, especially when it comes to the minorities, younger black men involved in the academy and joining up when it comes to law enforcement. How did y'all navigate those pitfalls and that separation between people that you've known for your entire life, and also knowing the lifestyle that they live? How did you navigate that psychologically once you put that badge on?
Yeah, it was in the earlier years for me it was difficult because like I said, a lot of these people I had known my whole life. I had went to school with them. I had spent the night at their house. They spent the night at my house. We ate dinner together. We ate lunch together. We were kids. We went swimming together. We hung out together. We rode bikes. We did everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came kind of to a point where I had to make a decision. Like some of these guys were messing up. They were using dope. They were doing things wrong, and I'm like, I had to make a mental, moral decision. Like, what do I want to be? Where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
15 years? So we just started kind of parting ways. Like I said, some of the people just never talked to me again. Some of the people just would avoid me, have a conversation if they had to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was difficult, but like I said, at the same time, I had gotten into church too and got my life right. So I knew, like in my heart, that my moral compass was pointing in the right direction. So I knew I was doing the right thing. So it gave me peace to know that I was doing right. I was making the right decisions. And I always tried to handle it different. I didn't necessarily treat those friends of mine any different because I wanted them to know that they could still be my friend. They just wasn't living right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I didn't. I didn't treat them different on the street either. If I caught them and they doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
they knew that if Troy got them, they were going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I just set those standards and guidelines early, and I've tried to keep them, throughout my career.
Right.
My experience is pretty much similar to his. Just being mindful of your surroundings, of people that you're around, people that I once associated with. I'll have, let's say we go out and have drinks or something like that. I have to stay away from those because when you put that badge on, it's a certain look that you get. You know what I'm saying? So, being associated with certain people might be frowned upon, especially in the public. So, um, I a lot of people I just stayed away from. I didn't necessarily cut them off, but I just stayed away from them in certain environments. You know what I'm saying? And just you know made them aware that I wasn't the same person. I'm not that same person that I once was. Everybody has a past. Everybody has a background. Not everybody grew up a certain way, but once you get to a certain point in your life, I think everybody is just people. We all mature. We all decide what lane we're gonna take, and we stay in that lane. If you're not that type of person to stay in that lane, if you still want to run the streets, do all this stuff, that's on you. That's not where I'm coming from. So you stay in your lane, and I'm gonna stay in mine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good deal. Kev, I'm gonna give you a chance to chime in at this point right here because I don't want to run away with the questions. You have anything for him before we move forward?
I think both of y'all responses are really similar. As far as staying away from certain people, and honestly, if I'm in y'all shoes, I wouldn't want to be around them either. I mean, one thing I never did understand is, in the black culture, as far as the side eye you get, when you're in law enforcement, that I'm sure you get, Brandon. I never understood how you the first person they're gonna call if something happened at their house. If somebody punched them, whatever, 911 they first call. I never understood that, honestly. I never did. But I think the main reason why I wanted to get you and Troy together was when I looked at Brandon, and Brandon, you can, attest to this. Almost our entire fraternity chapter, got into law enforcement at one point. So I wanted you all to basically, or Brandon, I wanted you to kind of get with Troy and say, hey, what could we do for Bogalusa PD? What advice as far as the younger black men in our community who right now don't look at it as a career? Because to your point, you didn't look at it until you were probably, 19, 20 to say, okay, I'm going to get in law enforcement. So I wanted you all to have that conversation because at the end of the day, we want Bogalusa to be better. And, Troy, we've had conversations of wanting, having more black people in the force. We've talked about it just a few days ago, and, that picture that you all put out, I think yesterday, just seeing the amount of black people that you see in the force now in Bogalusa, I love it, because you got people that look like us out there supporting the community and understand, and they can feel the people that they're out there supporting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's you saying that, Kelvin, to your point. When it comes to optics and law enforcement, and then, like I said, I pose this question to both of y'all. As far as with the bad cop situation, I want y'all honest opinion on, do y'all feel like that issue is getting better, or do y'all feel like it's just the same, or you feel like it's getting worse? And I want y'all honest opinion on the quote unquote bad apples in the law enforcement community, especially with y'all coming from both different areas. Is good because I want to hear what it's like in a more rural area versus where you in Lafayette, right, Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do y'all feel like that is getting better, or you feel like it's getting worse?
You want to go first, Brandon?
But yeah, I could go take this one first. I'm gonna say this: as long as social media is on and active, as long as social media is doing what it does, I don't personally think it'll ever get better because people see a 5-second clip of a situation,
Mm-hmm.
and instantly make a judgment on it. When if they would have rewinded it or saw it 5 seconds previous, they would have had a totally different perspective on it.
Mhm.
So for me, I think it's a lot of social media, a lot of people getting on just blaming cops just for doing these any little thing. They get pulled over for a traffic ticket instead of just complying, give them a license. They find a reason to resist and pull out the phone and they want to record this and record that. Well, which is, if that's what you want to do to feel safe, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't do that. And we're not. But for me, it's the bad clips or the bad apples, let's sort of say, um, they gonna always have them in every department. They it is what it is. Some slip through the cracks, and we're not. But I can tell you this: 95% of the people I've worked with are not bad cops. Yeah, you got a couple you'll see not see do bad things, or like I can't be on the call with that person. It just don't something shady about that person, and we're not. But they got other people you'd be like, man, like that's my partner. That's the person that I'm gonna go to war for. That's the person I know that's gonna write a good report. That's the person I know that's gonna go and testify and not lie under oath. You know what I'm saying? That's the person that I know that's gonna make a traffic stop and not pull out his gun just because he sees somebody black. You know what I'm saying? That's the cops that they have, and I wish people would understand that and see that. I'm sorry, understand and see that what they see on social media is not the majority of cops at all. They, like I said, the bad they see on social media, I think takes over the good cops in the area, and it makes it hard for people. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk for myself. Troy, I'm pretty sure you got the same issues, and
Yeah.
we're not. But for a black cop, it makes it extremely hard for a black cop based on things they see. Oh, you just like the rest of them. Oh, you just that person. You just that person. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mhm.
just my whole thing is social media. As long as that's here with the cameras and the recording of the certain clip that shows it might show a cop taking a person and putting them in a handcuff. But what they didn't show was that man that tried to stab the cop 5 seconds before that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's my whole take on it.
Some definitely some good points. So I'm not saying that I'm old because I do not feel like I'm old, but I started policing before people really even carried cell phones. We still typed our reports when I first started on a typewriter. That's just because we didn't have all the technology. But a lot of the points and comments you made are just so true. The percentage of police officers that are what we call bad cops are so minuscule in the department or even in bigger departments. But what happens is when that one bad cop does something, it gets all the publicity, it gets all the fame, it gets all the screen time. But then you have 99% of the officers doing the right thing 100% of the time, and you don't ever hear about it. You don't ever see it. You don't get to see the good because in the media and social media, bad bad coverage just gets better coverage. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I guess it's just the system to that aspect, in my opinion, is broke. Um, so working my way through the ranks, what I've always kept in my mind that if I was ever in the position to be in charge of people, I want to make sure that the good cops get noticed and the bad cops don't have a job anymore. And I've tried
Absolutely.
to do that my whole career. I love working with the community. I love getting out there doing things. I know Kevin and Drew's probably seen me out doing things before. I get out if there's an event, if there's a something going on. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. It don't matter if it's in the what we call a black community or a white community. I'm going to go because this is my community. It doesn't matter what color it is, and that's just my principles. That's what I try to go with. And I think that kind of stuff needs to be seen more. Um, got to get out there, got to do the right things. Let people see us as police officers doing the right thing. So whenever that 1% of the force or 1% of the police world does the bad thing, there's so much good that overshadows it. People still can see the good in a police officer.
Good, good.
Absolutely.
I got a question. you talk about like the 2 to 5% of the bad apples, right?
Right.
Are they showing signs before they do this public incident? I believe the departments, they are unionized, right?
Say it again.
Are they unionized, the police departments?
Some are and some aren't. The Bogalusa Police Department does have a union.
All
I'm
right,
not sure where Brandon's at.
so like when you see these like incidents or they're showing signs, you know, you always hear about the blue wall, right? You always hear about, you know, police sticking together no matter what. How difficult is it for you all to have those conversations with another officer who is just displaying all these acts of just being, you know, a bad cop? What is
So
that like?
so that's one of those things that, like I said, I kind of tried to mold my career around. It's never been a problem for me to say something. If I see somebody doing something wrong, or if I see something that looks like could lead to something wrong, I'm going to say something. I'm going to stop it. I'm not going to let it get there. To me, if you cross the line, there's consequences. You know, I expect you to do the right thing. I believe as a police officer, we're held to a higher standard than the average citizen. So we should always be, our moral compass should always be pointing in the right direction, and we should always make the right decisions. I'm not going to say that mistakes can't be made and aren't made, but the blatant acts of wrong, to me, need to be corrected immediately and taken care of.
Yeah, and
How much?
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. My bad, Brandon. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna agree with everything you said, man. You know, seeing somebody do something wrong, any bad apples in the bunch, yeah, they gotta get rid of them. Gotta get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's not only is it a public safety issue, you know what I'm saying? It can also hurt you as a cop as well, just for being associated with that person. So, um, you gotta get rid of them. There's no point. There's no space in society for bad cops at all, man. Like you said, if we're held to a higher standard, the public look up to us for help for public safety, and that's what we're here for. So,
You know, my next question is, how much training does a new hire off the street, not a transfer officer, new hire off the street, how much training do they get prior to even getting on the streets or in a patrol car?
So I'll go first, and I'll let Brandon go because their FTO program may be different. But at the Bogalusa Police Department, what we do is we send the officer to the Post Academy, which consists of 17 weeks of intensive training. And it's everything from physical fitness to Louisiana law, a little bit of civil law, defensive tactics, DWI, defensive driving, uh, ethics training, a little bit of everything to give them a good, firm footing. We send our officers to Slidell Academy, which is an accredited police academy, so the standards are a little higher. The hours, I don't remember exactly, it's a little over 400 hours total by the time they graduate. When they get through with that, we send them through a FTO program, which usually lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months, just depending on the officer. And by the time they get finished that, you usually have almost a year invested in the officer. And but I'll say this, and I bet you Brandon would agree with me. I've been doing this long, and every day I still learn something. Every day I get a little more knowledge.
absolutely,
And as
absolutely.
times change and the world progresses, like there's always room to learn new things to teach ourselves. You know, new techniques, new methods to do it. Some better, you know. So you just got to keep an open mind. But I think the basic question is it takes about a year to get an officer ready to be on the street, but they're going to learn their whole career if they're a good officer.
Right. Same thing for us. So I think when I went, it was like 16 weeks, but I think now it's 18-week academy. They go through and they learn the same thing Troy just mentioned, and whatnot. Firearms, defensive tactics, laws, um, just basically anything legal wise and whatnot. And once you get out of the academy, you're under FTO for a minimum of 12 weeks. Or it could go longer depending on your FTO. You know, if they feel like you're not ready to go out in the field by yourself, then they'll hold you for another 3 weeks or whatever. But Yeah, that's generally our training. Is what I would say. That's what six, like he said, almost about a year before they actually out on their own and stuff. So,
When I see different situations like the bad cop scenarios, right?
hmm
In many of those situations, I look at him like, okay, this could have been prevented. And whether it's from the citizens or one being arrested, or whether it's the cop, I see both sides of, okay, if you would have done this different, or if the cop would have done this different, it would have been prevented. So you talk about like officers being held to a higher standard. Do they teach like training for de-escalation or de-escalating a situation to say, okay, in this situation, you could do it this way? Now I understand if somebody's pointing a gun or a knife at you, those circumstances are different. But prior to leading up to that, what is that training like?
So, so most academies do teach that, and there's a lot of continuing education that goes into it too. And it's to me, it's a very important part of police work. You know, a lot of times you can take a potentially violent situation and calm matters down by just communicating, talking to the individual, and de-escalating the situation. You know, and sometimes it takes, that's where a good supervisor comes in. You know, sometimes it takes that second or third officer getting there. Maybe they can relate a little different, and they need to have the knowledge and ability to step in if it's not working out with the one officer. Step in and de-escalate the situation down and take it to a better level.
I agree. I agree. Same thing. We call it verbal judo. Our de-escalation technique. Just talking somebody down. You never know. You might come across a mental patient that's on the verge of suicide, and talking to them could actually get them down to that point to where, they understand what they're doing and everything is wrong, and they can comply with you. And then they go back on what he said. Me as a male, if I'm trying to de-escalate a situation with a female, she might be more responsive to another female. She might have something towards me because I'm a male. She could be a rape victim. She could have some kind of trauma. So it's things like that you have to pick up on whenever you interact with anybody on the street, and just kind of feel it out. But you know, just talk, man. I talk to everybody with respect. You know what I'm saying? I come across everybody. Hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? You good today? I don't care if you're homeless on the street. I don't care if you're a principal. I don't care if you're a lawyer, judge, whatever. Just talk to people with respect, and I think I think that'll go a long way.
I, I agree. I want to jump in and say something on that. So I was always taught, and my parents taught me, and I had preachers that taught me throughout my life growing up. You know, to always treat somebody the way you want to be treated. I know we've all heard
hmm
that, but a lot of times we don't practice it. But I thought about it too, and I thought about it throughout my policing career after I had children, and I said, I want to talk to you the way I expect somebody to talk to my children. You know, that's I want I want to treat you right. I want to treat you the right way, and I expect other people to treat my child that way. So that's just kind of my mindset. You know, I always want to treat everybody fair and with respect, even though sometimes people may not deserve your respect. It's a lot easier in a situation just to give them that respect, try to keep the situation calm, and to me, you can go a lot further with that attitude or that way of thinking.
So, with that being said, I want to. What are you guys as far as coping mechanisms psychologically for officers, just in general, even for just speaking for y'all personal experience? What do y'all do on a regular basis to make sure that um, you guys' mental is in a stable condition to go out every night and deal with individuals of that nature? Because I'm pretty sure seeing and dealing with situations like that on a regular basis, fatigue can kick in really quick. I notice doctors deal with this a lot when they are in areas like Bogalusa and they constantly see patients come in that, they have drug addicts come in looking for drugs, but it's hard to discern because they get worn out from seeing so many drug addicts to when somebody actually comes in and actually needs that medication, they get terrible treatment because of the fatigue of doctors always seeing the same patients. So I kind of look at that the same way as far as like police officers. If you're getting called to multiple domestic violence, situations or nonsense, things that can be avoided, and you're constantly dealing with this situation over and over and over again, how do you guys stop yourselves from getting that mental fatigue to where you might deal with that situation out of frustration versus treating every situation as a different event. Does that make sense? The question that I'm asking, or
Yeah.
yeah. So how are y'all managing y'all's mental on a weekly, daily basis as officers?
You want to go first, Brandon?
Yeah, I can go first. For me, I like the saying, don't take the job home with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Soon as I get home, take my boots off. Once I'm home, I'm home. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? First maybe 30 minutes, I take about a good 20 to 30 minutes. I decompress from the day. Just sit down. It could be a quiet room. It can be just the TV on, but I just sit to myself and kind of just unwind, decompress, and whatnot. And then also getting a good night's sleep, sleeping at night. Um, that's always a good thing, to help reduce stress and whatnot. Ultimately, I think it just comes to the person. If you're a person that could deal with normally under high stress situations, it won't affect you as someone that does as much as someone that does. And it's kind of hard to explain. Like me, like if something was to happen, and right in front of me, let's say, I don't know, somebody get robbed. I'm instead of panicking and saying, oh man," and jumping, you're gonna see me calm. I'm gonna walk up to that person, "Hey man, sir, you okay?" So like, and it becomes natural almost. In other words, and it's just that's just my demeanor, I guess. And I'm not saying I'll never be in a up here and in a high stress situation and stuff
Right.
like that. But for the most part, like the decompression and leaving the work at the work and coming home, leaving all that alone. That's what helps me get by, and whatnot. So
Yes, that's very good, man. That's you're gonna make your life a lot easier with that with that train of thought. But so I think it's different for every officer, um, and I think he kind of mentioned it too. Like each individual's different. Like so, everybody handles it different. Um, some people can not necessarily the stress isn't necessarily good for anybody, but some people just process it different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like Brandon. Like I get home, I kind of unwind. I got a good wife, so she doesn't. Some wives probably make it worse. They, what did you do today? How's that? What happened? Why was them lights on? Mine doesn't do any of that. She doesn't do any of that, so I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that. So I can get home, I can unwind. Um, I guess I'm talking a little bit from a different perspective too, because now that I'm assistant chief, so I look at things different too. So I look at some of our officers and I try to notice and check on them and see how they're feeling. I've had the I guess unfortunate uh, opportunity or not opportunity, but circumstances where I've seen officers hit rock bottom before, and we had to get them help. And I think as good law enforcement officers, any rank, from patrolman up, you got to watch out for your brothers and sisters in blue, and whenever you see somebody having a bad time, or when you think they might be the stress getting them to them a little too much, talk to them, help them. To me, being a Christian helps me because I have God as an outlet. Some people don't have that. They don't have that ability or that thought process to give it to the God and let Him take care of it. Um, so that's my take on it.
I was asking that question about mental health because I feel like that's something that's not really talked about a lot in defense of law enforcement, um, especially if it's a shortage and they're working crazy shifts, they're not getting the sleep that's necessary going into these situations. Sometimes if you're not mentally where you should be can cause a lot of the negative backlash. And I don't care what anybody say. If you're tired, worn out, and irritable, that's going to affect anybody. So I was just curious to know whether there are programs in place for officers if they needed to go and sit down and talk to somebody, or is there psych evaluations that are required every couple of months or whatever the case may be, or is that only for situations involving gunfights or firefight, anything that traumatizing? Is that only reserved for then, or do y'all have to go through regular psych evals on a regular basis?
So no, we don't. You have to have a psych evaluation when you're initially hired.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if some type of traumatic event or something happens, you do have to go through like a fit for duty analysis, but on a monthly or quarterly basis, no. Most departments don't do that.
Okay.
I think law enforcement over years has gotten better. In the earlier years, if the officer had trouble or maybe ended up having some kind of drinking problem or saw something that was bad and kind of didn't know how to cope with it and started acting out, most departments would just cut ties with an officer in the earlier days. But through as time progresses, and people start to understand PTSD, things have gotten better. There's more outlets to get an officer help. There's more resources to get them the help they need before they hit rock bottom or before they take a turning point and make mistakes.
And yeah, same thing for us. Before you hire, you have to take a certain exam, and in the event of situation, then you have to take one. Like you said, for a fit for duty. We do have we call it peer support. In every office, we have a peer support person. However you want to call it. But any event that, let's say you're going through a divorce, a death in your family, financial struggles, anything like that, we have a person designated to talk to you to try to help you cope through it or deal with it, and maybe point you in the direction of maybe counseling or maybe something else, or maybe find some sort of solution to whatever problem you're going to. And I think all agencies should look into that too. Just having one person designated for that. The only flip side I can see with that is that one person is taking on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So if that one person can't digest all of it and keep all of this composed, that could be an issue for them and whatnot. So, but yeah, we have that person in our group, and I think in our office, and I think that helps a lot of us just with the morale and stuff like that. So having somebody you can go and talk to any event you have any kind of personal issues or whatnot. So
I got a question.
mm-hmm.
How big is y'all's department, Brandon?
It's big. It's big. We're gonna talk after.
Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at
It's
that.
big. So we're gonna talk after this.
Yeah, so I think that's another cool thing about bigger departments is we all live in a world where everything's monetary, money. You have to have money to do this, money to do that. So bigger departments have I'm not going to call it a luxury, but that great ability to have that person. And we have a couple officers who went to kind of some peer support groups and have been trained. We also have some guys in our area that we lean on for peer support. But that's amazing that they have that at their office and they know that person that can be reached out to. That's good stuff there.
Yeah, it is, man.
I wanted to, mention. We always talk about like the stress that the officer is under. What mental toll or stress does it put on your family at home? Like when you leave a house, and are they stressed out and thinking of every day, is this person gonna come back home? Like how is their mental?
Yeah. So
For me, you want to go? Oh, all right, got it. For me, like my wife, man, she has my location, of course. So if I'm going to a house or something and I'm there too long, hey, what you doing? What you doing? Are you over there? You know what I'm saying? Like just checking in on me, making sure I'm all right. Or if let's say it's a real busy day and I don't have time to text her, reach out to her, give her a call. She'll worry. She'll and call and she'll try to see what's wrong or if something is wrong and whatnot. So I know it stresses her a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I try to give her as much peace of mind as I can. We do a lot of warrants and stuff like that. I'll text her right before I go to a warrant, and I'll text her when it's done and whatnot. So it plays a toll on the family members as well, just as much as it plays on us too. So
yeah. So I'm gonna pick up kind of where you are. Communication, as far as with your family, is key. It's probably key in any relationship. Communication. A good flow of communication. He said he keeps his wife informed. He lets her know what's going on. That's important. Letting your family know. You don't have to give them details by any means, but letting them know, hey, this is what's going on. Something bad happens. I always give my wife a call. Something bad happening in the town, I'll shoot her a text. Hey, I'm good. This is
Right.
don't bother me. Hey, but this is going on. Say a prayer, that kind of stuff. I'll give a quick example. But early in my career, in the early 2000s, I got in a bad car wreck. Ended up in the hospital. Woke up in the hospital,
Oh
and
wow.
my buddy went and got my wife. Brought her to the hospital. Um, that particular day, there was bad communication. They cut my vest off and brought her a piece of the vest. Cut my shoe off and brought her a piece of my shoe. She was traumatized. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what was going on. Good buddy of mine, state trooper, I'll say his name, Chris McClellan, got her and brought her into the room with me to let her know, to let her see me, let her know I was okay. I was broken and bruised,
Mm-hmm.
but I was alive. But that's an example of bad communication. She was getting the wrong signals, and
Right.
that can really have a toll on your family. So good communication probably is the number one step.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
So look, all right. This next question, moving into it, is right before we get into, I do want to ask y'all. And I want y'all honest to God opinion on this question. Do y'all really feel like there's a such thing as white privilege, in the country, in the area that we live at, just across the world, just in general, as law enforcement individuals who are on the streets every single day, who's up close and personal to, any conflicts and things of that nature. Um, I'm gonna put y'all on the hot seat when it comes to that. Is there a such thing in this country as white privilege?
I'm, I won't go first.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Go
ahead. Go
first.
ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you have that one.
So look, I love telling this story because I'm not going to say that I was privileged, but I was privileged to the fact that my parents raised me not to see color.
Mhm.
They didn't raise me to see race. They didn't raise me that way. I consider myself one of the lucky guys. When my kids grew up, I didn't raise them that way either. I know y'all all know Paris. I'm gonna say his now. I won't say his last name. I don't know if we can do that on here, but he would come by the house or something, or me and him would be hanging out, and my kids would always call him, "Hey, where's your brown friend at?" We just didn't go that route at my house, and my parents didn't raise me that way either. Does it happen in the world? Does it happen in society? I'm sure to some aspect it does, but it's just not the way that I rolled or ever did or ever taught my kids to even have that view. I taught them to treat everybody fair and equal, and I feel like they have done that through the years. And I was taught to do the same thing.
Hey, first follow up before we move forward though. Saying your kids don't see color, but then calling your brown friend is crazy.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you
Hey,
saw that color,
I'm
Yeah,
messing
but
with you.
they didn't see it the way the
I'm
question
messing.
was worded, or the
I
way
get what you're saying,
yeah.
man. I get what you're saying. It was just funny though, man. But yeah, but go ahead. But so just for the record, do you feel like it exists in this country, and do you feel like it's a problem?
It probably does to some to not. I'm not going to say necessarily white privilege, but money. I guess the upper class citizens would maybe have a different advantage than your middle class citizen or your person living in poverty.
So
And
you feel
that
like
could
it's more of
be and that could be it could be any race. I mean, you have wealthy white people, you have wealthy black people, but you have white and black people living in poverty too.
so you feel like it's a class issue over a race issue more than anything. That's your
Say it
person.
again.
So you feel like it's more of a class issue, like classism.
I personally do. Like your upper class citizens just have more. They have more advantages than your citizen who's living in poverty, who doesn't have access to simple things like health care or 3 meals a day. You know, that's my take on it.
All right, Mr. Brandon, what you feel? What you feel on that?
um, absolutely, white privilege is a thing.
Mhm.
And I'm not only saying it because I'm black, but I've dealt with it. just and it really goes in what Troy said, because it's really more of the wealthier people that it happens to. And I guess being that I'm not gonna say there are more wealthy white people than black people, but statistically looking at back, us coming from slaves and then going to all, this transition that we had, being a minority and whatnot, it allowed, white people to get ahead, get advanced and stuff like that faster than we could. So, to say majority of it comes from wealthiness, I would agree on that. I would say, this is my personal story on this. Particularly, I'm working the LSU game, right? I'm doing the LSU detail, and a certain person came up to me, and I'm guarding this parking area when I can't pass right here, and when I and told him, hey, you got to turn around. It wasn't disrespectful, was very respectful and stuff like that. Well, looked at me. That woman looked at me and said, I don't have to do anything that you want, that you want me to do. I can do whatever I want because I run this campus. And when I am the assistant something of this campus. And I looked at it, I said, well, ma'am, you don't have the tag in order for me to get in. I don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? And she gave me this big old fit. And about 2 minutes later, I get a call. Hey, you can let that person in. Well, y'all told me I couldn't let nobody in, without the tag. Y'all was very strict on nobody. I don't care if it's the star player on the team. I don't care if it's this person. I don't care if it's that person. Y'all told me I couldn't let nobody in, but all of a sudden now this person comes in, she can just go right on in with no tag or no nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe it exists, but on the other hand, I do believe entitlement comes on both sides, black and white. You get a lot of entitled black people too. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's a lot of entitled white people, but it is a lot of entitled black people as well. And like I said, I just think it goes back to what Troy said with the wealthy status and stuff like that. You don't see it happen more on your low income side too much, but your wealthy folks definitely. Yeah, I would say it is an issue. It is something.
Well, I'll say this as far as the white privilege as a whole. Like, no, white privilege. Here we go. Shador Sanders, that prank call. That right there is white privilege. Let me tell you why. Man, that would have been somebody else. That fine of $100K, man, that's a slap on the wrist. That man had access to confidential emails. Man, I can get fired today from the airline if I gave someone my password just to my operations account. So this man,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
nah, I'm just that right there. That's an example.
Yeah.
Of it, but
The way that I look at it is this, and this is what I try to get people to understand. What privilege is, and I'll never forget. I was in college, and my friend, I ain't gonna call his name because I call his name. It's my boy Mike. Mike was cool, so I ain't gonna call his last name. But me and Mike we was on our way to LSU, and that's when because at first I used to lean towards the stance of if you're respectable, and humble and patient, you don't deal with too much opposition when it comes to just everyday life. So I remember I was on our way to LSU, and the police pulled us over because he was flying. Like, I mean, he wasn't going slow at all. He was flying. And sitting in the seat, that's when I realized I understood what it was, because going through Mike's head as a white teenager was nothing. He was just like, dang, I got pulled over, speeding ticket. You know what I'm saying? That was it. In my head, I'm sitting there thinking, let me make sure that I'm not doing anything threatening. My posture is not incorrect. Let me make sure that, my seatbelt, I'm not reaching for nothing. Let me make sure that, I'm checking all these checklists that's in my head, because I've seen the situations happen and play out multiple times. And I know people think that it's like, oh, you're only going towards those few incidents that happen. No, like I've been seeing this happen as a black man growing up in the neighborhood, period. Like, you are taught, hey, if the police pull you over, these are the things not to do, because you're going to automatically be considered a threat. And it's because of a negative stereotype that a lot of young white men grow up with about black men, just in general. Like, I'm not blaming them for it. I'm just saying is you can't tell me. I know for a fact I had friends tell me, "Hey, look, my dad always told me, a black guy. You see a black guy at this time of night. If they have this on, always be super cautious." That stereotype is already out there. So you already, as a black man, has to start thinking immediately. Him on the other
Let me
end,
say, let me say something real quick, Drew. If have you ever had like a run in with law enforcement, like a negative run in with them?
who, me personally,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
I had
it was all based off of, but it was all based off of stereotypes.
like they were stereotyping you.
Yeah, because I quote unquote wear, like, when I was in college, fads and clothes and things of that nature that you wore it didn't determine who I was. It was just a fad at the time. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the profiling was extremely bad during that time frame. This was before the whole re-education of trying to crack down on profiling and things of that nature. But what you wore meant a lot about how you was going to be treated in a lot of those situations. What I was saying was, Kev, you had asked, and I was finishing that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once they found out that I was well spoken, once they found out that I wasn't the quote unquote typical black kid that they pulled over, it was almost like they were disengaged, and it was like, okay, well, this can proceed correctly now. I can treat him like a normal human. My issue is we got to eliminate the fact of us coming into that situation already with preconceived notions. That's what
You
I
saying as the police officer or as
like
the
as a police officer coming into the situation with preconceived notions, because that's what the essence of white privilege is if I see this little white kid with stringy hair, I don't have any preconceived notions. This is going to be a regular traffic stop. My guards aren't even up. But if I see this guy that looks the part, that he could be, a hoodlum or going to attack me any type of way just because he's black, he's wearing this outfit or this look, then I have to approach it differently, with my guards up. So that's my issue. That's the stance that made me realize, okay, I kind of understand, and I don't even think a lot of policemen know that they're doing it. I think there's just much more of a protective mechanism because of the stereotype that's been forced down everybody's throat, pause, about black men.
well look.
But you can
I want
continue
to
on,
jump in.
Kel.
So
Yeah, yeah.
wait before you go, Troy. You were talking about Drew, the way you want officers to, coming into it, already have that, change their narrative on how to basically approach the situation
Right,
beforehand,
right.
right? I don't even look at it that way because I don't trust anybody.
Mhm.
I don't trust that you were brought up like me. I don't trust that you were brought up to respect others, approach a situation, be able to de-escalate it. So that when you said that that movie, The American Society of Magical Negroes, you ever seen that?
Bits and pieces.
So in
Yeah.
that movie, they already, they have a it's like a white meter, Troy. It's like if I walk up to you, I can basically judge, how upset you would be at me as a black person or your day. How's your day going? Because your day can determine, you know, how you react to a situation.
Hmm.
So, like in the cases like when I've been pulled over, right? I don't even say I'm prepared for every situation, every outcome. So, true story, man. I'm trying to get to Coconuts. It's a daiquiri shop, Brandon in Bogalusa, and they close at 10. And I'm passing on the main road in front of the country club, going about 65 and a 35. All right, and I got pulled over. And look, I'm in the wrong. I'm trying to make this little, this traffic stop as quick as possible because I'm trying to get the Coconuts. It's 9:52. They close at 10. I'm trying to hurry up and get there. But what I do, look, I let all my windows down, my truck tinted. I got my lights on. I'm prepared for any situation. Look, I got my dash cam in there because I don't know who I'm about to, I don't know what office I'm gonna get today. Like I've never had a bad run in, but I'm prepared for a bad run in, and I know that's just how we were brought up. As far as you hear the stories and you see it on the news about a simple traffic stop, the Sandra Bland, a simple traffic stop turns into something, right? I just feel like us, you know, other than me being frozen right now. Us, we have to be prepared for we have to
Man,
be prepared for those situations. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we have to do it. We got to go the extra mile. But I mean, you rather put yourself in a situation to argue and go back and forth with a police officer that has the power. I look at privilege and be like, I think it's more than privilege. I think it's power. These people have the power, I say these people like I'm not talking to y'all.
dang,
But
bro.
I'm just saying,
Dang.
you you look you got a person that has the power to lock you up on something whether you did it or not. You can go to jail, bond out, we'll figure out later, if you did it. They got the power. So do I want to go back and forth and argue, or do I want to get home to my kids? You gotta look at the bigger picture here. You can cuss me out, Troy, you can pull me over, you can cuss me out. I'm gonna say, okay, bet, but I got a kid to get home to, though. That's how I'm looking at it. It's not important enough for me to go back and forth with somebody that's gonna give me a ticket or gonna take me to jail. I'll fight that later. I gotta get home. That's my take on it, though.
I agree with you, man. I never had personally. I never had any bad experiences with law enforcement prior to being in law enforcement, and when but you definitely. I don't see like I'm trying to see how to put this. I treat everybody the same, no matter if you're a young black kid, no matter if you're an old white woman, no matter if you're this middle-aged man. I treat everybody the same. You know what I'm saying? You did something wrong, you're gonna get this, a ticket, whatever the case it may be, or whatever, and stuff like that. And I think a lot of it comes from fear. I think a lot of people they react off of fear instead of using logic or just being themselves. You know what I'm saying? Just because you see a group of black kids in the street in the corner, don't mean that they about to go rob a liquor store. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. Just because you see a bunch of white kids in the middle of the woods shooting little pellet guns, don't mean they're going to shoot up a school and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It could go either way and whatnot. And that's just my take on it.
You know what? I will say this, okay? We talk about, how like you pass the little grandma and she hurry up and lock her door, or she clench her purse a little tighter.
That's my
Hey
mom,
man, hey, look, let me tell you something. I be seeing them hoodlums at the store too, and I be doing the same thing. I'm locking my door, so I can't get mad at a white person or a white cop or whoever, because I'm doing the same thing when I see those little bad Negroes. I'm just saying.
But see, that's the point that I'm making. Is white privilege is the fact that even got black people being afraid of our own people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay, is
But
it
that's
white
really
privilege?
That's not really white privilege.
That's a
That's
privilege.
No, I disagree.
that's the
So look,
YNs being the YNs causing all this
Yeah,
chaos, making it
okay,
hard for people
so
to trust and go outside and get simple groceries or
yeah,
go to the gas
yeah,
station.
yeah, yeah.
That's what
okay,
that is.
so listen, so this is my point. So just like the YNs, we hear YNs.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh, there are so many white meth heads that commit crimes every single day, but
Absolutely.
we don't have no name, no nickname, no nothing for the
Is that
fiends.
our fault, or is that the
Right?
YN's fault that put themselves in a situation to
Nah,
get a
they
new
didn't
name?
put.
I
What I'm
think the
saying
YNs
is,
gave themselves that name, huh?
nah,
Okay.
but see, but as far as how much is pushed is what I'm talking about. It's the fact that we avoid the fact that, hey, look, just like you said, anybody's capable of anything. Anybody. So that's the only thing that I'm
Mm.
saying. The playing field should be even when it comes to how we view people just in general. A threat should be a threat regardless. You can't, like, I'm telling y'all, you can't sit here and say that there's not a more of an agenda to push the fact that if you line up 10 to 15 black young kids and you line up 10 to 15 white young kids, they can have the same background, the same everything, the same clothes on. People are going to be more afraid of those 10 black kids than they are those 10 white kids. It's because the stereotype has already been established, the fact that be afraid of young black kids, especially if they wearing a hoodie. White kids wear hoodies all the time. Nobody's scared of them. It's just about the fact of the matter that the
But no,
stereotype that's
but
pushed.
this the thing. This the thing though, Drew.
Mhm.
This new generation of kids wearing hoodies in the summertime is crazy work. All
I
right.
don't understand.
So,
They
you
all
know,
do.
but the thing is, when I see it, that's like red flag right there. Why you got that hoodie on? why you walking around
So is it a
with that
red
hoodie?
flag? Is it a red flag across the board? If you see a white kid walking with a hoodie on, is it a red flag?
First of
In
all,
the
when I see it,
summertime, I think
In
so.
the summertime,
yes,
Well, y'all,
yeah.
y'all are law enforcement. We talking about the general public. we talking
No,
y'all are
But
trained.
I'm talking about outside of the job. You know what I'm saying?
but the
Even when
thing
I'm on the
is,
street.
at the same time, when you talk about like the YN term, Drew, I don't think the YNs gave themselves that term. It's the general public calling them YNs because they the one out there doing the acts. I think when you look at like the
So what's the name?
um
What's the name for school shooters?
talking about, man, no, they do have a name for them. Hold on,
What
hold on, hold
is
on,
it?
hold on, hold on. There is a name for them because that's like trench coat mafia. They had a name. That's Columbine.
Yeah, but
They
that
had a
was,
term.
yeah, but you don't hear nobody running around here saying y'all look out for the trench coat mafia, bro. Like that's not a saying, bro. Like
You right.
no,
You don't. But you
right?
also have more cases of YNs than trench coat mafias too.
No, you
I
have
think
a you have
you thinking of it, and I'm gonna just use this similarity this to compare it to. Your YN today is YN. Back in the day, it was OGs. Same thing, same message. OGs, which your original gangsters. You know what I'm saying? YNs, you know what that means. I think it goes hand in hand. I don't think people are necessarily just pointing towards black people or black kids and trying to come up with a name for them. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that was given by to me personally by us, by our own people. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Um, that's my comparison for it.
I had like 5 things I want to say, but we went all over the place.
Go.
Oh,
I want
No.
to say, I
Go.
want to go back to the what we used to call profiling or stereotyping, and I wonder. I'm just posing the question because I don't really know the right answer, but I wonder if in the earlier years, especially in police work, when I first started policing, gangs was a big thing. The Bloods and the Crips, the blue and the red. And in the early police days, they would train officers. If you see that group of guys over there, black or white, with all red on, well, that might be the Bloods. And if you see them over there with the blue on, that might be the Crips. And your small towns had their different little gangs. Bogalusa's had some. And I wonder if that's, and I'm just posing the question. I wonder if that's where some of this modern day profiling kind of started. Like police officers thinking with that mindset back in the day. Where that group over there, they on the corner and they got a bunch of hoodies, and it's in the middle of summer. They're up to no good, and it kind of went from there, and it filtered out into the population, and everybody started getting that mindset or that thought process. I also want to say too, I never really thought about the fact until maybe 10 or 15 years ago how a black man would feel when he gets pulled over by a white officer or even a black officer. And I had a local pastor. He was on another show of y'all's. Invited me to his church, and he wanted me to talk to the youth about my aspect or my opinion or view of a traffic stop. And he had the young kids in there. It was an open forum. It was a good thing. I thought it was. And he let the kids just ask questions like, well, if I get pulled over, what does it mean when the police officer does this? Or Mr. Troy, tell me, what should I do whenever the police stop me? And we had that whole open forum, that open dialogue, and that conversation. But I never thought about it until I was invited to do that for those kids, and I got to hear it from a totally different perspective. Gave me a different understanding of it. So, Brandon, what's your thought process on that? I mean, have you ever done that or had the opportunity to talk to some of the youth about it, particularly in the black community?
um, yeah. Like when I worked at the juvenile center, juveniles would come in there all the time, and I would get to sit down and talk to them. And a lot of them, they would give me the same story, like, oh, we don't trust them cops, we don't trust the pigs, we don't trust them, this and that. And I think it from their point of view, it came from just being told that you shouldn't trust them, being told that, police are not there to help us. They're mostly here to hurt us. And some of them even saw it and it happen with their own eyes. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's I tell everybody, man, you know, if you talk to somebody, if you treat any law enforcement officer with respect, 9 out of 10, they're gonna give you that same respect and courtesy back, and that's just what it is. If you did something wrong, and even if you want to fight it, that's what you got court for. That's what you got the legal system for. Don't fight it on the street. Fight it in court. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like a law has been violated or something like that, you feel something is not right, you're gonna have your day in court, man. You will. And if whatever you say comes to, find out that officer lied or abused his power or did something, then he gonna be in trouble. He gonna be in a shitload of trouble. You know what I'm saying? So all this fighting, on the street or resisting because you want to make a Facebook post and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, say that, leave that alone, and save that for court. Save your argument for court, not for the street.
That's perfect thought process. Kevin said something earlier that made me think out loud. He said he got pulled over and he rolled his windows down and just, he got kind of, I guess, got ready for the officer to come up there and let him know there wasn't nothing going on. But don't give them a reason. Don't give the officer a reason. I like that mentality or that train of thought. Like, don't give the officer a reason. What if you run into that 1%, that one bad guy? Don't give them a reason. Just do.
That's all it's going to take.
If that officer's wrong, if that officer's dirty or crooked, it's going to come out. He's going to get called up.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
I look at like the whole, just the whole being pulled over and rolling the windows down. I couldn't be a police officer. Like, just the thought of walking up on a situation that you have no idea of what the outcome is about to be. Like, you see a lot of times, like, those situations where people say, like, basically the officer was, like, trigger happy. Like, he unloaded the whole clip in these clips you see, right? Now, I do believe, being that I would not sign up for that job, I do believe that the people that do sign up, you have to have that mental capability to know when to use your weapon and do all these other things, right? But just thinking about walking up to a car that's tinted, you don't know what's in it. Let's say it's a situation where you smell drugs already. You already know you're gonna make them get out the car. It's dark, late at night. Just thinking about you all being in that situation, having to approach that vehicle, and you've seen clips where people getting out their car and they already shooting, right? You seeing officers running back, they're shot, things like that. So you can't tell me that when you've been in that situation or you've seen it before, that's not playing in your head as you approach my vehicle. So I'm not giving you anything. Yeah, my windows roll down. That tint, you're not going to see. You're going to see all of it in my truck. I'm going to let you know that it's baby girl in the back seat or I'm putting my lights up. No, I'm not giving you the opportunity.
I think that's good, bro. Hey, if that's your way of feeling safe, making sure you go home at the end of the day, nothing bad for happened to you, hey, I think that's good. You know what I'm saying?
And what a lot of people need to understand too, just citizens, black or white, it depends on the environment. Like the officer, like you said, the officer needs to be prepared at all times. He never knows who he's going to encounter. He don't know if he's going to encounter a Kevin, a Drew, or the worst serial killer in history. He's got to be prepared for any situation. It might be somebody's great grandma who's the sweetest person in the world, and it might be the most craziest person you ever dealt with. So the officer's kind of got to be prepared for any situation. And a lot of times, so when they approach the car and you run into one of those people with the preconceived notions that all police officers are bad. So the situation starts with anger or confusion. It just makes things worse. So, don't give them a reason. Just do the right thing. Don't give them a reason to escalate it into anything further.
I know, like, a lot of times too on the internet, like when you hear the like the phrase "don't give the police a reason to," and I know a lot of people don't either like that term or they'll dish it back and kind of be like, well, the police should be trained and all this other stuff. But I don't know, like, Drew, what you like you're thinking over there, Drew?
Oh no, I'm just listening. Like I'm listening because like I said, I feel like we use that a whole lot when it comes to you don't know what the police. I'm not a policeman simply because of what Kev just said. But individuals who sign up for that lifestyle need to understand that that's part of the process. You can lose your life when you walk up to this vehicle, but you can't allow that fear to be the deciding factor of how you're going to deal with this situation because this is what you signed up for. It's almost like I said, like educators, like teachers. This is why like I'm always in defense of um people that choose to go in the education field, but at the same time, these kids are rough. But at the same time, you can't allow that to be your deciding factor on how you deal with each one of these kids individually. And I think a lot of teachers get in trouble for that. And I feel like a lot of police officers have that same issue is they always want to hide behind that phrase of we don't know what we about to walk into, so that's why we have to be this way. Or that's why we have to act that way. But it's like,
Well,
no, my brother, this is what you signed up for. So it's we're depending on you to have a balanced approach as a police officer when you're dealing with these situations. Which is why I'm not saying that I'm saying that you're better than me as a police officer because I don't have that ability to do so. But we are depending on you know you guys to understand and be able to block that out of your head whenever you're going up to these situations. The reason why I'm saying that is because just like you say that you don't know what type of policeman you're dealing with or what they've went through, this is a citizen. You don't know what they probably just went through. You see what I'm saying? Like you don't know what they just dealt with before they left the house. They could have just lost a relative, lost a child. They could have, got told that they were diagnosed with cancer.
right,
So you have no idea what this person may be dealing with.
right,
So that's kind of like my point of what I was meaning by privilege. I'm not even saying that police officers are doing it intentionally. What I'm saying is that they allow noise and media to create this subconscious thought in their head like I have to be more cautious with this situation, which gives off the wrong idea whenever you're dealing with a minority.
I think it's a reverse. I think it's giving the people the idea that they need to be afraid when they encounter with law enforcement officers. And that's what starts the resisting and the stuff like that. And I don't get I get what you're saying. It's not
Mhm.
like that for everybody. But seeing it on social media, if I'm constantly seeing a cop go up to this person that's crying, saying that this cop just finished beat him and this and that and all that, or you can't trust police, then in your mind you're gonna think, well, maybe I can't trust police. You know what I'm saying? But I
Mhm.
do agree, police officers should be accountable too. You know what I'm saying? You can't go up with the idea that, oh, it's a car with some tint on it. I think I'm gonna treat this a certain way. Oh,
Mhm.
it's a car with no tint on it. I'm not gonna treat it a certain way. So you do have to have that discretion, and we're not, as far as it goes for law enforcement and stuff. So,
Mhm.
but I do get what you're saying. But I
Mhm.
think it could go both ways.
Mhm.
I,
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 I want to say something real quick.
all right, go ahead, Drew.
I agree with both of y'all and understand Drew's perspective. Think about it from a policeman's perspective, though. So you you try to handle every situation with the utmost caution and
Mhm.
respect. And the first thing you encounter at the window, just say of a traffic stop, is an individual who like Drew's talking about, who may be scared of the police, who may have a preconceived notion that all policemen are bad,
Mhm.
but their response is immediate anger.
Mhm.
Why'd you stop me? Who are you? What are you doing? It
Mhm.
gives the policeman, it would make his mind start going, well, maybe there's more to it than just a traffic stop. Why
Right.
is he so cautious? So that's
Mhm.
what I'm saying by don't give them a reason. People should be mindful of that. Don't escalate it into something more than it actually is.
I'm gonna disagree with you slightly on that, Troy, because if a person get pulled over, they could be agitated, they could be mad, and I don't
Right.
think that's a reason to go against and say that's suspicious. You know what I'm saying? People get pulled over. You encounter somebody that might have just lost, like you just said, might have just lost something, and they may
Mhm.
be acting irate, they may be acting different, but still, as long as we remain professional and composed,
Yes.
I think everything should go as I don't think we should react to their reaction.
No,
You know
no.
what I'm
You
saying?
follow your cues. Make
Mhm.
sure you.
Right.
I think both sides need to understand that we all human. Even the police officer, because at the end of the day, I know Brandon had mentioned, treating people different, whether or not a car had tent or no tent,
Mhm.
things like that. But the human side of you, you're gonna approach a vehicle with no tent that you can see in less cautious than you would a vehicle that you can't see in. That's just human. That has nothing to do with being a police officer or not. If somebody passed by your house, and they creeping by and you can't see in it, you're gonna feel a little cautious. But if you can see who the person is driving, you good with it. And another thing that Brandon mentioned about social media, that's what the airline industry is dealing with right now. Like right now, we have these crashes, right? And they're like, that's all you see. Any news station, man, you got WWL in New Orleans reporting a small plane crash in Michigan. When have they ever done that? They've never done that before. But now any simple plane crash or aviation incident is being reported. So now everybody's in a frenzy about flying. Oh, is it safe to fly? And I think if us on the outside, not in law enforcement, do the same thing that us in aviation, what we've been preaching is, man, you got 100,000, let's say 100,000 flights taken off a day. All right, 100,000 flights take off a day. And for 3 months, not one incident, right? And then you have one. And then a few days later, you have another. We don't look at all the good incidents that happen, the successful traffic stops, the successful incidents of where, you made a successful arrest with no shooting occurring. But we only focus on those. Now, granted, I'm not taking away from those large incidents, the George Floyd's, the Ferguson incident. I'm not taking away from those because those incidents needed to blow up the way they did for us to have these conversations. But I think both sides play a role in this, both communities, both cultures, because of what happened in the past. And, is there work still to be done? Of course there is. But I think the fact that you have a young black officer and a tenured officer like Troy having these conversations with outsiders who are not in law enforcement to be able to have a conversation back and forth like we're having, you wouldn't have seen that 20 years ago.
Right.
So that's my little spiel.
Yeah. No, solid, man. Look, and I want y'all to understand too, man. This is, by no means me questioning and me, just trying to get a better point of view has no bearings on me not supporting law enforcement at all. I am all behind 110% behind law enforcement in every single way. Especially, that's what, like I said, we had a sheriff on not too long ago, and that's what we was talking to him about, trying to improve community relationships with law enforcement to get younger black individuals from our community, and just young men in general in our community, to kind of have a better relationship with what law enforcement is, so we can correct a lot of those bad apples and push those out, and get a younger feel to relationships with the community just in general. Understanding when you have law enforcement that comes from a certain generation trying to deal with a generation they are not they don't understand at all, that makes it 10 times harder. So as life moves forward, the law enforcement should move forward along with it progressively. So we talked about, as far as, like I said, improving community relationships within our communities with law enforcement, so we can see those numbers increase. But I don't want y'all to, feel like that I just speak on some of the issues that I personally seen, both personally and just from observation, just in general, of, how people feel on a basis, an everyday basis. That's all that may be. But we're always extremely grateful for what you guys do. Troy, you here in Bogalusa, as well as Brandon, especially you being a young black man and standing up against the status quo when it comes to what we can do and what direction we can go, man. Look, we are eternally grateful for that.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure. But we do. Kev, you want to pose that last question about recruitment?
Yeah, I know, Troy, you and I have been talking for a few weeks. I don't know if you still have those positions open that you had, but like I said, one of the main reasons I want to bring Brandon on is because Troy, you and I have talked about having, more people of color in the force.
Right.
And I was like, hey, man, I know a guy, know a few guys. I'm like, hey, Brandon, can you come on? Can you kind of, reach out and give your insight on recruitment, being that you are a young black man in law enforcement? So, Troy, I don't know if, you and Brandon can kind of have that dialogue as far as, what are you looking for, or what obstacles you're finding yourself in as far as in that recruitment process.
Absolutely. I'll start off. First off, Brandon, we hiring. Got a spot for you, man. Right on in.
I'm gonna keep that in mind, bro. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
We get you right.
I
But
got you. I got you.
so I was tasked a few years ago with being in charge of recruiting for Bogalusa, and we've reached out, man. We went to, got a little community college here. We went to the college. It's kind of hard to get a man or a woman out of high school because for a municipality you have to be 21 before you can even start in the field. But we've went out. We've I've went to churches. I've reached out to local leaders in the black and white community and tried to hire people. I want to ask you this question: why do you think your average black male or black female is hesitant to be a police officer in today's culture? What is your take on that?
Um, I'm gonna say for two different reasons. First reason I'm gonna say is because of the general public's image of black law enforcement officers, and when I say general public, I mean black people. They're looked at as sellouts, they're looked at as people you can't trust, and this and that. And the second reason I'm gonna say is the leadership. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of agencies or police departments that have leaders that don't encourage black people to apply and whatnot. So that right there is enough to say, all right, well, I know he ain't gonna have my back because you know what I'm saying. You don't want me around here, so why should I apply to this job?
Right.
But I think the biggest one is just the public's conception of what black people mean in law enforcement, or how they look to others in law enforcement. So,
Hey, hold up. I want to filter this in. I'm sorry. Am I lagging? Or are we good? Am I good?
I lost
you good?
way.
Okay, I'm good. All right, so I want to ask y'all this. And I'm sorry, Kev. I know we probably letting them go, but and y'all don't have to answer this. But is there really a place for a woman to be on patrol as law enforcement? Is there really a place for them on the streets in agency force any type of way?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
That
Yes.
a female officer has the same amount of value as a male officer. I mean, to me, there's no difference. I mean, that's another area that's lacking in most departments too is female officers. We were talking earlier about how different people can reach different people. You know, a female officer has a whole different skill set than some male officers do, and most departments are severely lacking in the ability to recruit female officers.
I agree. I think females are a vital part in the police organization. They most of them, the ones I know, they tough and they get down and whatnot. So, I think it's just one of those things that you need a balance because you never know what kind of call you go on, what kind of case. Like I said earlier, you might have a case where a male is not the best option to diffuse that situation. A female that's sympathetic, shows compassion, that can relate to that person might be the best method to diffuse them. So, absolutely, I think females do belong in law enforcement and play a big role in law enforcement. So,
Time out.
And the only reason I was
Time out. No,
Yeah, we're probably get to it before me.
Flag on the play.
All right.
No. I want you to you gonna explain and clean that question up because I want people to know, for one, why you even asked that question. Okay. Okay, that's the first thing. Why you even ask that question? Because the success of this podcast is not going to end because you out here being a sexist. So I want you to not only that,
Hey, no,
but to
bro,
Brandon's
listen,
point.
listen.
No, wait, Drew. To Brandon's point. Okay, you don't think. Now I'm gonna talk about a thick black officer right now. Okay, you don't think if you about to make an arrest and you bring over a nice, attractive, black, thick woman to finish off the job, you don't think a man that's hurt or upset gonna settle down just a little bit, because of who he see? You doggone right, we need them out there. Wayne said it best, Miss Officer.
Let me tell you something. Majority of the prisons in Louisiana right now are ran by women. Women.
Really?
So if that don't speak volumes right there, then I mean, that's who run it. If you go to any prison, Angola, Hunt, any major state facility, you go to these prisons, I guarantee the majority of the population is women. That's who run the prisons.
Well, first of all, let me clean this up because Kale trying to set me up. Kale trying to set me up to be counsel, bro, because that is not why I like it. The only reason I asked the question is simply because in Trump's new America, a lot of chauvinists and a lot of like Kale said, a lot of sexists are back to the forefront speaking with their chest, everything with their chest. And one of the topics that they discuss is that in the field, women officers could be a liability for a male officer that may run into a physical altercation. And that's the only reason why I wanted you guys to state the fact, and I'm glad that y'all did it that way, state how important, as from firsthand knowledge, how important it is to have female officers in the field. Because right now the narrative is, like I said, is that they are more of a liability when it comes to physical altercations and being able to protect hold somebody down or protect them, just in general when it comes to support and backup. Then
Boy,
they
God telling you shut up. God over there, you over there freezing up. You freezing
I'm
up.
not froze up.
No. As soon as you start talking about physical and what they can, God said, hold it right there.
Listen, I feel like it's a valid question, but I'm glad they answered the way that they did. I'm not saying that they not. I just wanted somebody from firsthand knowledge as police officers to show how important it is to have women in the force. Because I'm telling you, to the average everyday person, they say it all the time. They be like, man, women shouldn't be in the military and women shouldn't be in law enforcement in the field. So
I'm just protecting you, Drew. I just don't want Shonda Bridges to go up and blow you up.
Gonna curse me out. She gonna curse me out.
That's why I'm just I'm just trying to help you out, Drew. That's all.
Nah. So I just wanted to know if they had any feelings about, if that's the case. Is it true? Is it any truth to that statement, or if it's not any truth to that statement?
I think it all goes back to your training. As long as you train right, it don't matter you're male, female, don't matter. You know what I'm saying? As long as you train right, you know how to do your job, you treat people with professionalism, it doesn't matter the sex.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
What? Yeah. Question answer,
I didn't see to add to that, I didn't see a small 5'7" female take down a 6'2" male by herself. You know what I'm saying? So it can happen. Trust me. If you got the defensive tactics on point, and you know what you're doing, your capabilities and stuff like that. No matter who you are, it can happen.
Yeah. So, ladies, look, y'all hear that out there, man. There's no reason to hesitate when it comes to being a part of law enforcement, or any type of anything that has anything to do with
Drew. Thinking about this, I know we have a few black women on the force in Bogalusa, correct, Troy?
Correct.
I bet you they have a great degree in investigation and investigative work. I just know it.
Now,
they can get to the bottom of something.
Now you being sexist, not man.
I'm not. I'm just going strictly off of the fact that I know black women get to the bottom. No, I'm just saying.
Stereotyping, man. You in the same boat as me. Look, man. Relax.
No,
Bill.
all I'm saying is
you just call all policemen women.
No, that's not what I said.
That's what you just said.
That's not what I said. All I know is black women, they can get to the bottom of something. They can get to. That's all I said. That's all I
Hey
said.
man,
Okay.
Troy, don't laugh too hard, man. We don't want you in no mess. We don't want you talking to HR on Monday. But yeah, that's all. But yeah, that's all I got for him, Kel, man. I don't know if you had anything else for him, man. But
No,
Man, just
man.
to go back on the recruiting thing, man.
yeah,
I think, a big thing for any agency or any department is to go, and I think you said it earlier, Troy. It's be involved in the community.
Yeah.
What I do, man, I'll ride around and I'll see a couple guys, a couple of young guys playing basketball. I'll start playing basketball with them to
uh-huh.
show them that, hey, we not bad. We
Uh-huh.
just like y'all. You know what I'm saying? And talk to them, try to build a relationship with them. And I think, as a white male, I think you should go to a black neighborhood and position yourself in that black neighborhood and talk to the people and understand them and see why
Absolutely.
if they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
And this and that. And those young kids, they'll see that and they'll understand, well, I don't need to be scared. I don't
Uh-huh.
need to be scared of this policeman. I think that's all things you can do to help, as far as your recruitment and stuff like that. It might be down the line. It might be years down the line, but it's a start. You know what I'm saying? Just to, change that up. I don't know how Bogalusa is. Is it mostly white, mostly black? Is it a mixture? Is it
I think we're probably about 50-50. A good mix.
okay? I got you. Yeah, yeah. I would just say, man, go in those neighborhoods, and we all got that one neighborhood. We like, I don't know, but that's the one you go in and talk to them and talk to them, and you let them know, hey, look, we're not the bad guys. You know what I'm saying? If y'all need help, y'all call us. You know what I'm saying? Just build that rapport with
Absolutely. I think that's very intelligent speaking, and we hire him again. I'm gonna tell you one more time.
them.
We got a spot.
I got you, man. I got you. I'm gonna keep it in mind, man. I'm keep it in mind. I got you,
Got a
bro. You
few
got, hey,
few
you got.
properties out here, man. Cheap land, cheap property tax.
Come on, man. Yeah,
Telling you.
I got you, bro.
But
But
no,
yeah,
I don't.
man.
I want to appreciate y'all for coming on, man. This is
Absolutely,
been in the works for a few weeks. I know everybody's schedule all over the place, on all ends, man. So
man. It's been a while the last couple of weeks, bro. Whew. It's been a while,
yeah.
man. It's in service
Mm.
month. So,
Well,
uh,
thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for
Yeah.
taking the time. Y'all welcome to come back at any point. Troy, I'm gonna give both of y'all the floor before we close it out. Anything you want to say? Anything Brandon you want to say before we end it?
I wanna say thank y'all for putting me on here. I enjoyed it. I'll be willing to come back anytime. I think this is good for the community. I think it's good for us to have this conversation and enlighten each other. Get it from 4 different perspectives. Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has different life experiences. So it's good to sit down and talk about it. I enjoyed it, man. I appreciate you guys. Got mad respect for y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it. I've been watching it. I want to see more. Keep doing it.
Thank you, Troy. Appreciate you.
appreciate that, Troy. Appreciate it, man.
yeah, and just to go off of that, thank y'all, for having me as well. Just being able to provide some insights on some of the issues we have, and for people to actually see it. I think that will help us out in the long term. And when I keep it, like you said, keep doing what y'all doing, man. This podcast, bro. I hope to be on it part two, man. You know what I'm saying? Part two coming soon. Let us come back next time. I'm gonna have some more stories or something for y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? But on an end note, just to the people that's watching, man, this is coming from a black police officer, a black law enforcement officer. You know, don't be scared. Don't be scared. If you feel like you're in a situation where you're scared or police officers abusing his power or whatever, fight it in court. Fight it in court. We got too many hashtags. You know what I'm saying? Too many things like that. Fight it in court, and let the justice system handle it, and we're not. So,
Brandon,
yeah,
one
that's all
more
I got.
thing. Let me ask you this: what would you tell the young black man or woman who was on the fence? They like crime, they like law enforcement, but they family What do you say to that person that's, you know, they want to be in law enforcement, they want to be a police officer, but they got people telling them it's not the way to go?
The hell with them people got to say, man. If you want to do something, go do it. You know what I'm saying? Here I am. I'm an example, bro. You know, I had people that didn't want me doing it. I had people that wanted me doing it. You know what I said? I'm gonna do what I want to do, and here I am today. And when I y'all just go for it, shoot for it. You know what I'm saying? That's all you can do.
How you gonna be mad at somebody tell somebody they shouldn't do a job? They gotta feed their family.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
they gotta put
Brandon,
money in their
what's
pockets,
your
man.
ultimate goal? Where you trying to land at, Brandon, in
My
law
ultimate
enforcement? What's your
goal,
ultimate
man.
goal?
Hopefully, man, in Bogalusa, man. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully,
I
I'm
knew
joking. I'm
I
joking.
knew I knew you was
Man,
gonna say
it
that,
is,
man.
man.
I'm
Come on.
Nah, man. Nah. Hopefully, man. Honestly, bro, end goal for me would be either be a sheriff
Okay.
of a town one day, you know,
Okay.
of a parish one day.
I got you.
Hopefully that would be my end goal. So we'll see, bro.
Yeah. Troy, what's your end game, man? What you feel like you want to retire your ass?
I'm in it. I'm in it for the long haul, man. Like I said, I got my 30. I'm not going nowhere. I'm gonna do it until I just good Lord tells me otherwise. That's my
Okay.
plan.
Okay.
All
I
right.
think we got a good thing going. You know, we got a new chief. Everybody knows Smitty.
Hmm.
Uh, I think the department's heading in the right direction. We're hiring. We're training our guys. You know, we're redoing policies. I think everything's going in the right direction. Crime's down. Everything's knock on wood. Don't want to curse us, but we're going in the right trajectory. I want to keep it going that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's good. And let me add one more thing, you know, just in case somebody from my current job is watching. Hey, that sheriff thing, I ain't talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? This is after I retire. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to leave right now. You know what I'm saying? This is after I retire and everything. I'm gonna put my time in with
Ah,
y'all. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh
just
God!
let
that
me
boy,
clarify that. You know what I'm saying?
that
Like,
boy
yeah.
gonna be called into the office on
Oh,
Monday.
what? No, yeah. Hey,
Oh,
Hey man, let me know how you
so
take that part out, man. I don't know you.
no,
Let me
no,
know.
no. You good? You good? No, you good? Yeah, we
leave
good.
it out for him. Leave it out for him. Leave that
Yeah,
part out.
man. Yeah, bro, we good, man.
Nah,
So,
man.
All right,
I
yeah,
man.
appreciate you guys for
Once
coming
again,
on.
thank y'all for joining.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
For sure.
Make
Yeah.
sure
All
y'all
right,
invite us back,
Kev, I
man.
think I was last.
Yes.
most definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. All right, you guys, man. Thanks for we have the final stop on the night train. Thanks for riding the night with us. We want to also send another special guest. Another special thanks out to Brandon Allen as well as Troy Trevelyan. Y'all will be seeing them again. Trust me. We want to let y'all know here at the night train if y'all got anything y'all need help with from us, y'all already got us, man. It goes for you, brother Brandon and brother Troy. Whatever y'all need that we can supply. We got y'all backs. Just let y'all know, Troy, you especially. We are accepting sponsors at the moment. So if BPD, if BPD want to get in on that, then all you gotta do is let us know, man. Go check the numbers. Just to look at our numbers, man. You will see that we get it with quite a lot of traffic. You know what I mean, Kel tried quite a lot of traffic, Kel. But no, thank y'all for coming riding the night train with us tonight. We'll see y'all on the next go. Peace.